Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the very foundation of, well, everything. Your own thoughts. You think they're solid, right? Rock solid? But what if they're not? What if they're more like a castle built on sand? Now, really, think about it for a second. Everything you believe, the way you see the world, even who you think you are, it all feels pretty real, doesn't it? Solid, kind of like a fortress. But what if that whole fortress is built on, well, shaky ground? There's this fantastic Korean idiom, sasang noga, and it means exactly that, a castle built on sand. It's this perfect picture of something that looks amazing and strong from the outside, but underneath, it's got nothing holding it up. It could all just wash away. And that idea, that's going to be our guide today.
So let's get right into it. We're drawing from a fascinating lecture by Professor Kim Song-chul today, and we're going to be exploring this really old philosophy. But here's the twist. It's not about giving you a bunch of new answers to memorize. Nope. It's about giving you a tool to really examine the foundations of your own mind. And honestly, it might just flip the way you see, well, everything. So this philosophy is called Madhyamaka, and I want you to forget about thinking of it as a typical philosophy or some belief system you have to adopt. It's not that at all. It's more like a toolkit for your mind. Its whole job is to use super sharp logic to find the limits, the little cracks, and even the big contradictions in any way of thinking, starting with your own. Okay, so what's the number one tool in this toolkit? It's a concept Professor Kim calls anti-logic. And before you jump to conclusions, no, it's not about being illogical or just making stuff up. It's way, way smarter than that. It's about using logic to take logic apart from the inside. It's like a secret weapon for dismantling your own assumptions. So here's the best way to think about it. Regular logic, that's a construction crew. It builds things, arguments, systems, big solid structures of thought. But anti-logic, that's a demolition expert. It walks into the house that logic built, grabs the original blueprints, and then uses those very same plans to show you that, hey, the foundation was never actually poured. And this is just a brilliant way to picture it. Anti-logic is basically using thought to burn up other thoughts. Imagine you have a big pile of firewood. You take one log, that's your tool, your logic, and you use it to set the rest of the pile on fire. It all burns. But here's the crucial part. What happens last? The very log you were using as a tool, it burns up too. And in the end, nothing is left. Okay, so that's the theory, right? Sounds kind of cool, kind of abstract, but let's actually see how this thing works in practice. Let's take this anti-logic tool and aim it at something huge, something so fundamental to our lives that we don't even think to question it. Let's talk about time. So let me just ask you, straight up, does time exist? I mean, of course it does, right? That seems like a silly question. We've got clocks on our walls, calendars on our phones. We talk about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's completely obvious. Or is it? Let's take a closer look. All right, so if we're going to say time is a real thing, it has to be made up of its parts, right? And what are those parts? The past, the present, and the future. Simple enough. But here's the real question. Can we actually find any of those three things in our direct moment-to-moment experience? Let's do a little investigation. Okay, first up, the past. Where is it? It's gone. It already happened. You can remember eating breakfast this morning, sure, but can you go back and experience that exact moment? No way. It doesn't exist anymore. It's just a memory now, right? It's a thought happening in the present. So nope, we can't find the past anywhere out there in reality. All right, so the past is out. What about the future? Well, the future, by its very definition, is the thing that hasn't happened yet. It's just an idea, something we anticipate. You can plan for next week all you want, but you can't experience it now. And you know that old saying, tomorrow never comes? It's kind of literally true, because when tomorrow finally gets here, we call it today. So the future doesn't actually exist either. Okay, so the past is a memory and the future is a fantasy. That just leaves us with the present, the now. This should be easy, right? This is where we live. But wait, let's try and grab it. How long is now? Is it a whole second? Well, no, because the first half of that second is already in the past and the second half is still in the future. What about a millisecond? Same problem. The more you try to zoom in on the present moment, the more it slips through your fingers. It's just this razor-thin, infinitely small dividing line between a past that's gone and a future that isn't here. And if you follow that logic all the way down, the actual duration of the present moment gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's literally Zero. So let's recap. The past is gone. The future isn't here. And the present has zero duration. Poof. Under the harsh light of logic, our concept of time just completely vanishes. And this isn't some new mind-bending trick. This very line of reasoning is laid out in ancient texts like the Diamond Sutra. It says pretty clearly that the past mind, the present mind, and the future mind can't be grasped. They can't be found. It's telling us that time isn't something out there in the world. It's a story our mind creates. And just like that, we can start to see the sand our castle is built on. Okay, I get it. This can feel a little weird, maybe even unsettling. Why on earth would anyone want to take apart something as useful and fundamental as time? It's a totally fair question, and the answer has everything to do with the goal of this whole process.
See, the point of all this isn't to pile up more knowledge. It's about finding wisdom. And this is such a great way to see the difference. You've got Rodin's thinker on one side. He's all tense, clenched, struggling to figure things out. That's knowledge. It's accumulation. But then you have the pensive bodhisattva, totally serene, relaxed. That's wisdom. And it's not achieved by grabbing onto more things, but by letting them go.
So what we're talking about here when we say wisdom isn't about being a walking encyclopedia. It's about freedom. It's the freedom you get when you start taking apart the rigid boxes and the mental labels that we stick on everything. It's about letting go of those stubborn, fixed ideas so you can see the world with a much more open, flexible, and honestly, a much clearer perspective. All right, great. Ancient philosophy, letting go. But why does this actually matter? Like for you, today, in the 21st century? Because this isn't just some dusty old idea. This way of thinking, this anti-logic, is an unbelievably powerful tool for dealing with the world we live in right now. When you get good at questioning your own basic assumptions, you can shatter what's called gojeongwanyam in Korean, those really stubborn, fixed ideas we all have. Suddenly, your creativity gets a huge boost because you're not stuck in this is how it's always been done. You start to think for yourself, to form your own judgments instead of just inheriting them. In a world that's so divided, this helps you see past the labels and find common ground. And maybe most importantly, it can help free you from some of those big life anxieties, about meaning and purpose, when you realize that even those big, heavy concepts are also just castles built on sand. And look, the point of tearing down the sandcastle isn't to be left with nothing. It's about seeing what's actually there when all the elaborate structures we've built are washed away. It leaves you with clarity. So the final thought I want to leave you with isn't what is true, but something deeper. What remains when we finally, truly go beyond the limits of our own thoughts?